Speaking of everybody dying because of healthcare, RFK Jr., I mean, this is just stunning. We know that measles are still sort of like exploding across the country. We don't hear as much about it because, of course, the CDC is barred from issuing this and doing any type of publicity that would encourage people to get vaccinated against the
that would
measles.
make Trump feel bad, so let's pretend it doesn't exist.
Department of Health and Human Services under Robert Kennedy canceled millions of dollars in federal funding that was awarded to Moderna to produce an mRNA vaccine against flu viruses with pandemic potential, including the H5N1 bird flu, which is currently sweeping through U.S. poultry and dairy cows. Last July, the Biden administration's HHS awarded Moderna $176 million to accelerate the development of mRNA-based pandemic influenza vaccines. The beauty of mRNA technology is that you can create sort of almost like a platform that can be modified to deal with specific variants of flu or virus, etc. And on Wednesday, the Trump administration decided to renege on the contract. This was right as Moderna reported positive results from an early trial vaccine targeting the H5 influenza viruses. In a preliminary trial of 300 healthy adults, the vaccine candidate appeared safe and boosted antibody levels against the virus by 44.5-fold. And Kennedy canceled that contract. I imagine Moderna will figure out a way of continuing the work, but the hostility towards defending us from a potential pandemic is alarming.
Do we know that Moderna will continue that work, though?
We don't know.
Like, okay, yeah. My point is just like, this is why capitalism can't solve our health crises, because unless we have a government saying, like, you have to research this, they have to have a profit incentive to research something. That's the problem. Yeah, no, there may be others at this point because they've, gone far enough down the road that they're going to be able to find other funding sources. Maybe it's other governments. I don't know. But here is Caroline Leavitt talking about a MAHA report that is Make America Healthy Again, about kids. And apparently it was done by somebody's probably non-premium version of AI, where the AI decided to cite reports and studies that were fake.
Okay, but the people that cited were real. They just hadn't written what they ChatGPT said it cited.
It must have been one of those things where, like, it's scrolling through some story about the report's authors, the purported report's authors,
yep,
when they had talked about something else or somebody else had talked about it.
And then makes up what they think they were talking about.
Exactly.
Thanks so much, Caroline. A notice investigation found that the Hallmark MAHA Commission report that was released last week cites studies that appear to not exist. We know that because, in part, we reached out to some of the listed authors who said that they didn't write the studies cited. So I want to ask, does the White House have confidence that the information coming from HHS can be trusted?
Yes, we have complete confidence in Secretary Kennedy and his team at HHS. I understand there were some formatting issues with the MAHA report that are being addressed, and the report will be updated, but it does not negate the substance of the report, which, as you know, is one of the most transformative health reports that has ever been released by the federal government, and is backed on good science that has never been recognized by the federal government.
And a quick follow-up, can you talk about what tools or research goes into production of these kinds of reports? For instance, is it AI that's used to put together these reports now?
I can't speak to that. I would defer you to the Department of Health and Human Services. What I know is just what I told you.
I don't want to be a pedantic, because God knows I mispronounce words, and I'm sure I use words that don't exist. But you're not going to defer you. You're going to either refer you, or you're going to defer to the Health and Human Services. I'm going to obstruct or basically pretend I don't know what you're saying.
Formatting?
Yeah, formatting.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, they made a report that had false citations, and it was a formatting problem.
That's like a double spaced versus a 1.5 spaced thing, not like this thing that we cite to sort of warrant the claims that we make is a figment of a computer's imagination.
Yeah, that's not great. Apparently, so Notice found that initial fake report, and the New York Times found two more, or fake citation. The New York Times found two more fake citations in it as well.
That's why I say never use citations. If you're only asking for trouble. Let's go to
The line is just unbelievable on like all these stories. Just it's the most transformative health report ever, and of course I trust it. And that's just a formatting error.
But like they all have to talk like Trump now, right? That's what she's doing there. The hyperbole. It's exhausting.
So at least Trump has charisma about it. Stephen Miller and her doing it, it's like ugh.
It does make me slightly queasy that Notice, and credit to them for having gone and looked up the footnotes here, but doesn't it make you guys a little queasy that like other major media outlets weren't? I mean, are they going and checking footnotes of these huge government reports?
I mean, exactly. All due respect to Notice. I mean, the idea that you don't have the New York Times breaking this type of story is nuts.
Because they're using AI. 404 Media had a good piece on Chicago Sun-Times last week, I think, that talked about they had a movie preview, I think it was, or maybe it was a novel preview, and it was doing the same thing. It was citing real authors and inventing books that they had supposedly had coming out. And of course, nobody checks and like, oh, we usually don't do this with AI. Something got through the guidelines. And it's like, no, you were being cheap and they got caught.
And like, okay, so the Times talked to one of the researchers, Dr. Keyes. She noted that her research had indeed showed that rates of depression and anxiety were rising among adolescents, as the report said they were. But the faulty citation, quote, certainly makes me concerned about the evidence base that conclusions are being drawn from, she said. The report also originally cited a paper on direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs published in The Lancet in 2005. A paper with that title does exist, but it was a perspective piece from the expert, not a study. It was published in a different journal 5 years earlier and was not written by the cited author.
Okay.
Another citation incorrectly referred to a paper on the link between sleep, inflammation, and insulin sensitivity. The citation included a co-author who did not work on the paper and omitted the researcher who did. It was
you are
also
having an
listed
emotional breakdown right now.
in the wrong journal. So, like, also, this is where they hate peer review, too, where they're like, they want anything that's published by these people to be included, where they don't go through traditional scientific processes.
First
but I
of all,
guess.
How dare you?
Yeah, I guess that's not news. Brett, this is a win for the Weinstein line of intellectualism, right? Where having no respect for your peers, but like alternative science.
It's literally what Eric said yesterday, which is that in the future, okay, none of his peers will ever recognize his genius, but an AI will sometime down the line. Like, well, the AI just gave you this now.
Okay, I'm sorry. One more thing. Experts said even some of the correctly cited papers were inaccurately summarized.
Oh, that's just formatting.
For example, Stop the count. For example, the report said the 5th edition of a guide used by psychiatrists to classify mental health conditions had loosened criteria for ADHD and bipolar disorder, but that edition was not published until 2013. I don't know. Like, they're using AI. That's the point. Yeah.
Do your own research.
Right.
Let a robot do your own research.
Right.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.